Thank you.
Get it sent. Give us a minute. All right, it looks like we're live.
Okay. And it is just now 1 o'clock. So Liz, you want me to take it? All right. Good afternoon, and welcome to our first official session of the 2021 virtual TAS annual meeting. My name is Sarah Chesney. I am the current president of the Texas Archaeological Society, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the 2021 annual meeting. Our first session is a conversation with Dallas filmmaker Olive Talley, who will share the backstory of how and why she launched a documentary about the Gault site and Dr. Mike Collins. Her story will explore how this long-looted patch of land was salvaged and revealed as one of the most significant prehistoric archaeological sites in the Western Hemisphere. Dr. Collins and his team have found evidence of people living here up to 20,000 years ago, thousands of years earlier than the first named Clovis culture in the Americas. It's a story of grit and perseverance and overcoming long odds to save a priceless piece of history. Olive Talley is an award-winning producer, director, and writer. She is a 3-time Emmy nominee, a Pulitzer Prize finalist, and winner of dozens of national and state awards spanning her journalism career. She is a graduate of the University of Texas and attended Harvard on a prestigious Nieman Fellowship for Journalists. Her stellar production team includes Emmy-winning cinematographers and internationally acclaimed former National Geographic photographer Kenneth Garrett. Olive has gotten so hooked on archaeology, she's actually become a member of TAS, for which we are all grateful and benefit from. She came out to Kerrville this past summer, met a lot of us at field school, and she hopes to return to the field and dig in the dirt with us next year. You are always welcome. Olive joins us from Dallas.
All right. Thank you so much for that wonderful and warm introduction, Sarah. So nice to be with all of you members, fellow members now of the TAS. And I appreciate this opportunity to come and talk to you about this film that I feel very passionate about. And I believe many of you feel very passionate about too, because you've either worked or you volunteered in some capacity at the Gault site. So I want to just tell you, I just want to tell you that you may think you know this story, but I think you're going to be surprised by some of the things that you learn in this film. And before we show you our latest, greatest sizzle reel, you are the first people to see it. And I purposely held it off. We're going to launch it on the website as soon as our session is over, but I thought the Texas Archaeological Society members should see it first. At my side here is Jay Hutton. Yes, there he is. He's the editor on this, and this work that you're about to see is Jay's work, and you will see his talent. So we're going to roll this sizzle reel. It's about 3.5 minutes. Sit back, get your popcorn, and enjoy it.
This is work at the Gault site on September 5th, 1998.
He just had to make something happen because he knew what was going to be lost if he didn't.
We can expose the mammoth mandible.
He was looking at it as a priceless heritage for Texas, all of Texas. Oh, well, the archaeological world, the United States, yeah.
I go to meetings and people want to know, well, what's new at Gault? And I have an answer to that. So I don't know, but what's old at Gault is.
We're told that archaeology is in foreign places that you have to travel to, and you barely have to leave Austin before you find one of the most groundbreaking sites in the United States.
I remember Mike always walking. It's like he could feel the ground beneath his boots.
He had a feeling for the land, the place.
He saw great potential in an area that other people had written off.
I would just cringe at the thought of people hauling off the scientifically valuable stuff that they only saw as monetarily valuable.
All of a sudden, we started finding these big bones. I mean, huge bones like this.
It was the biggest nest of Clovis artifacts I'd ever seen.
Guys, y'all are sure destroying a lot of history right here. I mean, he just put it bluntly like that, because we were.
There was a lot at stake, and I think nobody really expected it to work out. Year after year, you know, when's a funding coalition going to come together? Who's going to step up?
Nobody else believed in his dream like maybe we did.
Well, good morning and welcome to Gault. We're going to take a little trip back through time.
He says, I just think there's something older than Clovis. If it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be here. If Mike says it, man, I got to take it seriously. Here it is. This is the spot.
There's artifacts as far as you can see. They're crunching under your feet.
It's a whole lot more complex story than we've been telling ourselves for 50 years.
That changes our entire understanding of the peopling of the Americas.
The critics came out of the woodwork, and some of them were brutal. When I had to pull out, and that actually happened more than once, I never totally gave up.
I'm eating, he's eating, and all of a sudden I say, just go buy the damn place.
That willingness to go the extra mile for something that you believe in because you know it's bigger than you.
The stones are speaking, and they're telling us that these people were very sophisticated. They understood beauty. They were really, really people. They weren't just things to study.
You just allowed anybody to come in and learn, and that's a very precious gift to a lot of us.
Changed a lot of lives.
Seeing the heart he put into this project, what an example. You don't run into people like that every day.
You throw in Gault with Mike and somehow it's just magic.
I felt like if we're going to find it, we're going to find it here. And we did.
You did.
We did. It's been a great journey. It really has.
Thank you, Jay Hutton, for that wonderful editing. How do you go wrong with a story about Gault and about Mike Collins? I mean, but let me tell you, the number one question I get, and I'm going to go ahead and answer it here, is why? How did I learn about this story, and why am I doing this documentary? Well, I love to tell people that my story at Gault began in Antarctica. Yeah, doesn't make sense, but it's the truth. So I went on this trip to Antarctica in 2017, and I'm sitting on a National Geographic Explorer ship, and Ken Garrett, who is a former National Geographic photographer, gives a lecture about the peopling of the Americas. And he puts up slides and shows us beautiful images of all these cultural sites that he's visited to document the peopling of the Americas story. And there's a map, and in the middle of Texas is a red star, and it says Gault. And he says, when the boys in Texas started coming up with stuff that was older than Clovis, heads around the world started popping. And I'm like, what? Where? What is this? So for the rest of the trip, I bugged Ken Garrett, and just every time I'd see him on the ship when we were whale watching or looking at birds or whatever, I'd say, Ken, let me just ask you one more question about this place. And he convinced me as soon as I came back to just call Mike Collins. I did. And 4 hours later, when Mike and I finally hung up the phone, I was just hooked on the story, and I wanted to do a little freelance print story. And he says, oh, well, you can do that, but you need to come and spend 4 days with me. So I wound up going to, that's when Gault was headquartered at Texas State for a while. They had the lab, and I met Clark and Nancy and Tom and Sergio and all Robert Lassen and all the people who were there. And the more I learned, and I mean, you're talking to a girl who didn't know what chert was, okay? And I'd never been on a dig site. I was fascinated, but I really knew nothing about this. But I got to go to the lab. Mike took me on a tour of Tarl and took me on the site, and I was really hooked. So fast forward, here we are 4 years later, and we're pretty much knee deep in this documentary. And we hope with perhaps some of your help, that we will be able to raise the funds to finish this. And I will tell you briefly that we got good news. We got a grant just this week from the Texas Historical Foundation. And I don't know the amount yet, but we think that's a very nice honor, and we're very grateful for that. So why am I so passionate about this story? Well, it really is a great untold story. And even though, again, many of you work there, many of you volunteered there, there are so many elements to the backstory of how this happened and how Mike, as Elton Pruitt says, was able to pull this out of the fire, development surrounded by the rock quarries, the change of hands in the ownership of the property. Many of you know the Lindsay family. They began initially as one of the hurdles to the project. And then now they're the people who are actually protecting the project and the site by living there. So there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of drama. I think even Mike and Karen didn't really sort of think of it this way until I presented it to them, and they were like, oh yeah, I guess we did have a few challenges along the way. Yeah. So anyway, I think it's a story, sort of a common man story, overcoming challenges, living your dream, following your passion. But then there's the science component of it, and we'll evolve the thinking about the theories of the peopling in Americas. But then we're also going to layer in those other themes of why it's important to preserve these kind of cultural sites, and why it's important for landowners and private landowners to be able to work with archaeologists. And again, for UTAS members, it's very important to me that we emphasize, and we will, the partnership and the work that was done by all of the volunteers, the avocational archaeologists, and the fact that Mike was so willing and welcoming to let everybody come in. I've heard the stories about the TAS Field School in 2001, and then when the 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay. So do we want to play the one last tape? I thought it was okay. Do we want to play the worm video? I think, okay. So I have just a little fun video for you, and that is, you think you have it rough in the field. We have it rough in the field too sometimes. And this is a little clip of the challenges that we faced when Mike and Bruce Bradley came to visit when we did an interview at the Gault site.
What we're saying is that Clovis wasn't first, clearly.
No,
Okay.
by a long shot.
Hold on, stop. I mean, don't stop rolling.
No.
Just, yeah.
Got another one over here.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Never had this trouble before.
Yeah, never had this.
I've had flies, but not worms.
Okay.
We're going to have to deworm him every once in a while.
Yeah. We're good.
We got to work with what we get.
You got to.
Okay, hold on. Worms.
Oh, I get to get dewormed again.
Am I wormy?
Yeah,
No.
on your leg.
This is a new
This is
new
a new
challenge.
problem, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry. Worm.
Worm for me.
Oh, look at this.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought if anybody could appreciate this, it would be you guys who toil under horrible conditions out in the field. So anyway, I'll stop here. I'm happy to take any questions. We have a couple of other pieces of video if you want to see them if we have time. But go to the website. We have a ton of videos and information up there. Please donate if you can and spread the word, tell other people, share the website, help us get this film completed. And we hope next year.
Thank you so much, Olive. This is great. And the more I see of this, the more excited I get. And I am sure I'm not the only one. So for those of you out watching on YouTube, if you have any questions or comments for Olive, you can throw them up in the chat and we will ask them on air. And if there aren't any, then we'll look at some more footage.
Hi, Olive and Sarah. It's Elizabeth. I'm watching the YouTube feed. There are a few comments out there. James Everett says, a super sizzle, Olive, congrats. Dana Ritchie says, that was an amazing trailer. Ashley Limke, that made me tear up, Olive. Thank you for sharing. Eric Schroeder says, excellent, Olive. While folks are typing in their questions, I've got one, and I know you started to kind of make this appeal, and you talked with it about me before, and that is about getting TAS members to who participated in some of those early field schools to maybe send in some material. So I'll
yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, Liz, for reminding me of that. We have had some wonderful contributions. Chris Ringstaff, Steve Davis, TAS members, who you all know, have given us some videos and given us some photographs from the early days. We want all of it. We want as many gems as we can find. So any photographs, focused, please, and video that, it looks decent, contact me. Let me look at it. Because we're looking for any hidden little gem. That opening on the sizzle reel was from Kurt Masters, one of the volunteers from the scrap team from New Hampshire. So we would appreciate any help, any visuals, any videos that you have. We're very, very glad, and we would please ask you to look through your closets, dig through your file cabinets, go through your computer, your hard drives, look at your field notes, see what else you might have and we'll give you a credit. I have to have a legal agreement that gives me a release to be able to use it and all of that sort of thing. But anyway, it would be a lot of fun. And anybody who contributes something will get a credit somewhere, either on the website. We're listing all the names of the donors, and also we're listing on the film, we're going to list everybody. So unless it's like 10,000 or something, but that would be great. So
well, there's a couple more comments coming in on the YouTube feed, and then we've built in enough kind of cushion of time here in the schedule that after that, if y'all want to show some more footage, I think people would love that.
Okay.
But see, on the YouTube feed here, Amanda Hammock says, very good to be seeing a good documentary made on Gault. And Becky Shelton, our own Becky Shelton, says, this brings back so many memories. I was one of the volunteers in 2002, and my volunteer work at Gault changed the direction of my career.
Yes. Well, those are the stories we want to hear, because we need to hear from somebody, and I don't know who it's going to be yet. I've interviewed a lot of people, but somebody whose life was changed as a result of their experience at Gault will make it into this film. I don't know who that's going to be. So send me your stories, email me, send me your pictures, your videos, and let's see where this goes. I'm excited about hearing all these other stories. So let us roll one other piece of tape. This is going to be this is a gift to you guys, to the volunteers. When we got the stone, when we put up the stone entrance to Gault, it was created by Bob Reagan, who's a sculptor in Florence, and then by Tim Brown, who's a former county commissioner in Bell County, who was at that time the president of the Gault School of Archaeological Research. So, of course, they chose the coldest day in December of last year in the middle of COVID. And we went and we met Mike and Karen in Florence. We wired their car with GoPro cameras. And then I said, give me 10 minutes to get in front of you. And all of the crew and I raced back and got there. And so we wanted to share this sort of informal dedication and presentation of that entrance marker with you, because nobody else could be there because of COVID. So this is really a Valentine to Mike Collins, and it's a Valentine to you volunteers and those of you who have worked so hard and given so much to this site.
The people that lived on the Gault site were stone carvers and craftsmen. They created art. My carving is paying tribute to the Gault site and to people who were here thousands of years ago. See how careful the driver is? He's very careful, he's gentle. Yeah.
You're a rock star.
Rock star.
This is homage to Dr. Collins.
Gosh, I wonder how many times you've made this drive.
Lots of times.
Along with literally hundreds of other people who have contributed along the way.
Oh my gosh, Mike, look at that.
Boy, look at that.
Today was fantastic. I wouldn't trade today and seeing expressions on Mike and Karen's face for nothing in the world.
Beautifully done.
Really is.
And,
That just set off what he has done to the top.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you all, and all the others that aren't here.
It's a beautiful marker for everything Mike has achieved here.
People from around the world know the Gault site. It would have never happened without Dr. Collins and his wife, Karen.
And certainly the Lindsays, none of this would be possible without you. It extends forever to you and your family.
This is such an important site, one of the most amazing paradigm-shifting archaeological sites. It really says, you know, there is something important here. There is something that should be remembered about here, and it's the science, and it's the discovery, and it's the archaeology, and it's the personal story.
You know, it's really just thanks, gratitude, appreciation.
You just allowed anybody to come in and learn, and that's a very precious gift to a lot of us.
And changed a lot of lives.
Really been a great journey.
The tears are starting up, and I'll mess up my makeup, so that's it.
Mike has worked just so long and hard on this site, and he's brought so many people on the journey and the adventure with him. It just solidifies what an amazing achievement it is that this site has been preserved, protected.
We'd like to get everybody to raise their glasses to all the folks who made this possible and to Mike Collins who led us through this whole thing. Cheers!
All right. Good show, everybody.
It really sets a nice boundary in time that says the work and the effort that Mike has put on for so many years is really starting to blossom.
Oh, look at that.
Monument to all you guys.
And you know, he absolutely deserves this recognition. I think it does that wonderfully.
I want you to know that the family's really proud. So, yeah.
So I'm not sure that will actually make it into the documentary because I don't know. I don't know what all's going to make it into the film at this point because we haven't shot everything. We've got lots of interviews to go. We've got a lot of work to do, more research. But again, feel free to ping me, email me, call me, send me anything and share ideas, share stories, because this really is going to be my goal is to truly document this whole story of Gault from a scientific, a human standpoint, from all the angles that, you know, I've sort of laid out here. Oh, one last thing. If anyone is excavating in Central Texas, in topography and areas that look like Gault, please call me and please let me consider coming out and taping some B-roll with you at the excavation. We shot some with Sergio and Mike in the hill country, but you know better than I do, it's not the same. And so if we can get some B-roll, or you can persuade Mike to reopen Gault, then we need some of that generic B-roll and nice shots of the excavation process. We did have a wonderful time going up to Colorado. We met with Bruce Bradley and spent a few days with him up at Wallace Ruin. In fact, I met Steve Davis there. Steve Howard was there. Jill Patton was there. And it was a Gault reunion. So I'm looking at the clock, it's 1:25. Do you want to see one last video clip? Okay, one last video clip. I think this is only about a minute and a half or so. And this is Bruce with a little flint knapping, talking about flint knapping, and then with Mike a little bit at the Gault site, and then the rest is in Colorado at Bruce's house.
Nice piece here.
Yeah. I bet there's been an awful lot of chert carried away from here over the years.
Mike and I and other people have really studied Clovis very, very excruciatingly in detail. And we see a very distinctive technology, meaning the process by which they made their tools. In fact, there's 2 or 3 technologies, but the one for making the Clovis points is very specific. And you don't even need the finished point to identify that that was a Clovis because of the way they chose to make flakes. Like that.
Yeah. So we have some more videos of Bruce flint knapping, and all of it's mesmerizing watching these talented master knappers like Bruce and Sergio and folks like that. So it is, we're going to roll some of that out. We're going to hit this hard on social media in the next month to try to raise funds and get some more money in the bank, just as Elton Pruitt says. And if we don't get these sites in the bank now, we won't have them for the future. So we don't get the funding for this film, we're not going to have it in the future either. So anyway, thank you so much for this opportunity and for being willing to help me tell this amazing story about this wonderful ride that many of you have experienced.
Thank you so much, Olive. This is as you've said and as you've witnessed over the course of creating this is a story that is close to many hearts of Texas archaeology. And so there's a large community that cannot wait to see the finished product, and we'll keep spreading the word, and we'll can't wait to see what the finished product looks like. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.